Comfort feels good. That's why it's dangerous. Right now, there are people waking up early, pushing through discomfort, learning new skills, building something meaningful, while others are wrapped in ease, telling themselves, "I'll start tomorrow." The scary part? Both people feel fine in the moment. But only one of them is moving forward. Comfort doesn't scream at you. It doesn't warn you. It quietly keeps you exactly where you are. You don't notice it at first. You just choose the easy option once. Then again. Then it becomes a pattern. And before you realize it, weeks have passed. Months have passed. Your life hasn't changed, but your excuses have gotten better. That's how potential dies, not in one big failure, but in small, comfortable decisions repeated daily. If you're hearing this right now, this is your wake-up call. You're not here by accident. Something in you knows you're capable of more. And if you don't act on that feeling, it will slowly fade until you become just another person who had potential. So before you go any further, make a decision. Subscribe to this channel. Stay connected. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because if you keep exposing your mind to truth like this, you won't stay the same. Now let's be honest. Comfort is addictive. It convinces you that rest is progress. That scrolling is harmless. That avoiding hard things is self-care. It wraps laziness in nice words so you don't feel guilty. But deep down, you know the truth. You know when you're wasting time. You know when you're avoiding what matters. You know when you're choosing easy over necessary. And every time you ignore that voice, you weaken your discipline. The first truth you need to accept is simple. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you're always comfortable, you're not growing. And if you're growing, you will feel uncomfortable. There's no way around it. That uncomfortable feeling you avoid? That's the doorway to your next level. The second truth is even harder. You are responsible for where you are right now. Not your friends. Not your background. Not your situation. Yes, life can be unfair. But staying stuck is a choice you reinforce every day you choose comfort over action. That might sting, but it's also empowering. Because if your choices got you here, your choices can get you out. The third truth is this. Discomfort is your advantage. Most people run from it. They avoid hard conversations, hard work, hard decisions. That's why they stay average. But if you become the person who leans into discomfort, you instantly separate yourself from the crowd. Waking up early when you don't feel like it. Working when you're tired. Learning when it's frustrating. Staying disciplined when it's boring. That's where your edge is. The fourth truth. Your environment is shaping you more than you think. If you're surrounded by comfort, distraction, and low standards, you will naturally drift in that direction. Look at your habits. Look at what you consume daily. Look at the people around you. Are they pushing you, or are they making it easier for you to stay the same? If you're serious about your potential, you need to be intentional about what you allow into your life. The fifth truth. Motivation is unreliable. You're not always going to feel like doing the work. In fact, most days you won't. If you depend on motivation, you will stay inconsistent. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears. Doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, that's the difference between people who talk and people who achieve. The sixth truth. Time is not waiting for you. Every day you spend in comfort is a day you don't get back. And the dangerous part is, you won't feel the loss immediately. It accumulates quietly. One day you'll look around and realize you're in the same place, with the same excuses, wondering where the time went. Don't let that be your story. The seventh truth. Your potential doesn't mean anything without action. You can have talent. You can have ideas. You can have dreams. But if you stay comfortable, none of it will matter. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. And execution is uncomfortable. The eighth truth. You don't need a perfect plan to start. Comfort makes you overthink. It tells you to wait until everything is clear. But clarity comes from action, not waiting. Start messy. Start small. Just start. Because staying stuck in comfort is worse than making imperfect progress. The ninth truth. Pain is temporary, regret is permanent. The discomfort of discipline fades. The effort you put in becomes strength, confidence, growth. But the regret of wasted time stays with you. Knowing you could have done more, been more, tried harder, that feeling doesn't go away easily. Choose your pain wisely. The 10th truth. You are closer than you think. The version of you that you admire, the disciplined, focused, successful version, that's not a different person. That's you, with better habits and stronger decisions. And those decisions start today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. So here's what you do. Do one thing today that makes you uncomfortable. Something you've been avoiding. Something you know matters. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. That's how you break out of comfort. That's how you build momentum. That's how you become who you're meant to be. If this message hit you, don't ignore it. Subscribe. Stay connected. Share this with someone who's stuck in comfort right now. Because the truth is, most people will hear this and do nothing. Don't be most people. Your potential is waiting. The only question is, are you going to stay comfortable, or are you finally going to step up and claim it? You're still here, which means something in you is awake. Most people would have clicked off by now, gone back to comfort, back to distraction, back to the same patterns that keep them stuck. But you didn't. That matters more than you think. Because change doesn't start with action. It starts with awareness. And right now you're aware. But awareness without action is just another form of comfort. It feels productive to listen, to agree, to say, "This is deep." But if nothing changes after this, then this just became another comfortable moment that tricked you into thinking you're improving. Don't let that happen. Let's go deeper. Comfort makes you lie to yourself. It tells you things like, "I need more time," when really you're just afraid to start. It says, "I'm not ready," when in truth you're avoiding failure. It whispers, "I'll do it later," knowing very well later rarely comes. And the longer you listen to those lies, the more convincing they become. You start believing them. You start defending them. You start building your life around them. That's how people wake up years later, confused about why nothing changed. Because they trusted comfort more than truth. Here's another reality most people avoid. You're either building momentum or losing it. There is no neutral. Every day you take action, even small action, you strengthen your identity as someone who moves forward. Every day you avoid action, you reinforce the identity of someone who hesitates, procrastinates, and stays stuck. And identity is powerful. Once you see yourself as someone who doesn't follow through, it becomes harder to break that pattern. So the goal isn't just to do more. The goal is to become someone different. Someone who keeps promises to themselves. Someone who does hard things without needing to feel ready. Someone who doesn't negotiate with comfort. Another truth. Your future is being decided by what you tolerate today. If you tolerate laziness, your future will reflect it. If you tolerate distraction, your future will be scattered. If you tolerate mediocrity, your future will feel average. But if you raise your standards, even slightly, you begin to shift everything. You don't need a complete life overhaul. You need fewer excuses and better standards. That's it. Let's talk about fear. Because behind comfort, there's usually fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being judged. Fear of not being good enough. So instead of facing those fears, you choose comfort. You stay in your safe zone where nothing challenges you, but nothing grows either. And here's the part you need to understand. Avoiding fear doesn't eliminate it. It strengthens it. Every time you run from something, you teach your mind that it's something to be afraid of. But when you face it, even imperfectly, you weaken its control over you. Courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about acting despite it. And that's uncomfortable. But it's necessary. Another thing most people won't tell you. You don't lack time. You lack priority. Look at your day honestly. How much time goes into things that don't move your life forward? Scrolling, watching, waiting, avoiding. Now imagine if you redirected just a fraction of that time into something meaningful. Learning a skill, building something, improving yourself. You wouldn't recognize your life in a few months. But comfort keeps stealing that time from you. And you let it. Let's fix that. You need structure. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Structure. A simple plan you follow whether you feel like it or not. Wake up at a certain time. Do the work you've been avoiding. Limit distractions. Repeat. It sounds simple because it is. But simple doesn't mean easy. It's uncomfortable. And that's why most people don't stick to it. But you're not trying to be most people. You're trying to break out. Here's something else you need to hear. No one is coming to save you. Not your friends. Not your family. Not some sudden opportunity. If your life is going to change, it will be because you decided to change it. That responsibility is heavy. But it's also freeing. Because it puts the power back in your hands. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to act. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Let's get real for a second. If you keep choosing comfort, nothing changes. Read that again. Nothing changes. Same habits. Same mindset. Same results. And deep down, you already know that's not the life you want. So stop negotiating with yourself. Stop saying, just one more day. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There is only the moment you decide. And that moment is always now. So here's your challenge. After this, don't just sit there. Don't just think about it. Do something. Something real. Something uncomfortable. Something that moves your life forward. Because that one action, no matter how small, is proof that you're serious. And once you start proving that to yourself, everything changes. If this message is pushing you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel so you don't fall back into old patterns. Share this with someone who's stuck, someone who needs that push but won't admit it. Stay connected, stay updated, and keep exposing yourself to the kind of truth that forces you to grow. Because comfort will always be there. It will always be easier. It will always be tempting. But your potential? That requires something more. The question is simple. Are you going to keep choosing what feels good? Or finally choose what makes you grow? Let's take it even further, because this is where most people stop, and stopping early is another form of comfort. You might be thinking, I understand all this, but it's hard. Good. It's supposed to be hard. If it were easy, everyone would be disciplined. Everyone would be focused. Everyone would be living at their full potential. But they're not. And that's exactly why this matters. You're not struggling because something is wrong with you. You're struggling because you're finally stepping outside what's easy. And that's a sign you're on the right path. Now here's something most people don't realize. Comfort doesn't just keep you stuck, it slowly lowers your confidence. Every time you avoid something you know you should do, you send a message to yourself. I don't follow through. At first, it's small. You ignore it. But over time, it builds. You start doubting yourself. You start hesitating more. You start feeling like maybe you're not capable. But that feeling isn't truth. It's a result of repeated inaction. And the opposite is also true. Every time you do something difficult, especially when you don't feel like it, you build trust in yourself. You start thinking, I can rely on me. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It's earned. And it's built through discomfort. Let's talk about consistency, because this is where everything either works or falls apart. You don't need to go all in for one day. You need to show up every day. Even when it's boring. Even when it feels like nothing is happening. Even when no one is watching. Because success isn't built in moments of intensity. It's built in moments of repetition. And repetition is uncomfortable because it feels slow. You won't always see results immediately. You won't always feel progress. But if you keep going, the results will come. The problem is, most people quit before that happens. They go back to comfort because it gives them instant satisfaction. But instant satisfaction is expensive. It costs you your future. Now think about this. What if you treated your future self like someone you actually cared about? Not someone you keep disappointing. Not someone you keep pushing things onto. But someone you respect. Would you still waste your time the same way? Would you still avoid the work? Would you still choose comfort knowing it's making their life harder? Probably not. So start acting like your future matters. Because it does. Another truth you need to hear. Discipline is not punishment. It's freedom. It gives you control over your time, your actions, your direction. Without discipline, you're controlled by your feelings. And feelings change constantly. One moment you feel motivated, the next you don't. If your life depends on that, you'll always be unstable. But when you build discipline, you create stability. You become someone who moves forward no matter how you feel. And that's powerful. Let's address something real. You will fail sometimes. You will slip. You will have days where you fall back into comfort. That doesn't mean you've lost. It means you're human. The difference is what you do next. Do you use that moment as an excuse to quit? Or do you reset and keep going? Because one bad day doesn't ruin your progress. But quitting does. So stop aiming for perfection. Aim for consistency. Even if it's messy. Even if it's imperfect. Keep going. Here's something uncomfortable, but necessary. You might have outgrown your current habits, and even some of the people around you. Not everyone is going to understand your change. Some people will question it. Some will mock it. Some will try to pull you back into comfort because your growth makes them uncomfortable. You have to be strong enough to keep going anyway. Because your life is your responsibility. And staying small just to fit in. That's one of the biggest ways people waste their potential. Let's get practical again. Start building non-negotiables. Things you do no matter what. Not based on mood. Not based on convenience. Based on decision. It could be waking up at a set time. Working on your goals for a certain number of hours. Limiting distractions. Holding yourself accountable. These small rules create structure. And structure creates progress. Without it, you drift. And drifting always leads back to comfort. Now understand this. You don't need to change everything at once. That's another trap. You get overwhelmed, then you quit, then you go back to comfort. Instead, focus on one or two key actions. Do them daily. Build momentum. Then expand. Slow growth is still growth. And it's more sustainable. Another powerful shift. Stop asking, "How do I feel?" Start asking, "What needs to be done?" That one change will transform your mindset. Because your feelings will often tell you to stay comfortable. But your goals require something else. So you stop negotiating. You just execute. And over time, that becomes your identity. Let's bring this home. Right now, you're standing at a decision point. You can go back to comfort after this. Forget everything. Continue the same habits. Stay in the same place. Or you can decide that this moment matters. That you're done playing small. That you're ready to step into discomfort and grow. No one can make that choice for you. It's yours. So choose carefully. If this is hitting you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the channel so you keep getting this kind of truth consistently. Share this with someone who's stuck in the same cycle. You might be the reason they wake up. Stay connected, stay updated, and most importantly, start applying. Because information without action is just noise. And you're not here for noise. You're here to change. So the next move is yours. Will you stay comfortable? Or will you finally become who you know you're capable of being? Comfort feels good, and that's exactly why it's dangerous, because right now there are people waking up early, pushing through discomfort, learning new skills, and building something meaningful while others are choosing ease, telling themselves, "I'll start tomorrow." And the truth is both feel fine in the moment, but only one is moving forward. And that's how comfort traps you, because it doesn't scream or warn you. It quietly keeps you exactly where you are until days turn into weeks and weeks turn into years, and you look back wondering why nothing changed, not realizing it was the small, comfortable decisions repeated daily that slowly killed your potential. And if you're hearing this now, then this is your wake-up call, because something in you knows you're capable of more, and if you ignore that feeling, it will fade until you become just another person who had potential but never used it. So make a decision right now to subscribe to this channel, stay connected, share this with someone who needs it, and keep exposing yourself to truth like this, because that's how you break out. And you need to understand that comfort is addictive because it convinces you that rest is progress, that scrolling is harmless, that avoiding hard things is self-care. But deep down you know when you're wasting time, and every time you ignore that voice you weaken your discipline. And the reality is, growth and comfort cannot coexist, because if you are always comfortable you are not growing, and if you are growing you will feel uncomfortable. There is no way around that. And that uncomfortable feeling you keep avoiding is actually the doorway to your next level. And another truth you need to accept is that you are responsible for where you are right now, not your situation, not your background. Because even though life can be unfair, staying stuck is a choice you reinforce every single day. You choose comfort over action. And that might be hard to hear, but it's also powerful, because it means your choices can also get you out. And here's where it gets interesting, because discomfort is actually your advantage, since most people run from it. They avoid hard work, hard conversations, and hard decisions, which is why they stay average. But the moment you become someone who leans into discomfort, you separate yourself from the crowd, waking up when you don't feel like it, working when you're tired, learning when it's frustrating, staying disciplined when it's boring. That's where your edge is built. And you also need to look at your environment, because it is shaping you more than you think, since if you're surrounded by distraction, low standards, and comfort, you will naturally drift in that direction. So if you are serious about your potential, you must become intentional about what you allow into your life. And you must stop relying on motivation, because it is unreliable and temporary. You will not always feel like doing the work, and if you depend on feelings, you will stay inconsistent. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears, and doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it is what separates those who talk from those who actually achieve. And time is not waiting for you, because every day you spend in comfort is a day you don't get back, and the dangerous part is you won't feel the loss immediately. It accumulates quietly until one day you realize nothing has changed. And that's why your potential means nothing without action. Because you can have ideas, dreams, and talent, but if you stay comfortable, none of it will matter, since the world rewards execution, and execution is uncomfortable. And you don't need a perfect plan to start, because waiting for clarity is just another form of comfort, since clarity comes from action, not waiting. So start messy, start small, just start, because imperfect progress is better than staying stuck. And you have to understand that pain is temporary, but regret stays longer, because the discomfort of discipline fades and turns into strength, while the regret of wasted time lingers. So choose your pain wisely, and realize that you are closer than you think, because the disciplined, focused version of you is not a different person. It is you with better habits and stronger decisions. And those decisions start now, not tomorrow. And here's where you need to be honest with yourself, because comfort makes you lie. It tells you that you need more time when you're just afraid, that you're not ready when you're avoiding failure, that you'll do it later when later rarely comes. And the longer you listen to those lies, the more you start believing them, until you build your life around them. And that's how people stay stuck. And you need to understand that every day you are either building momentum or losing it, because there is no neutral. Every action strengthens your identity, and every avoidance weakens it. So the goal is not just to do more, but to become someone who follows through. Someone who does hard things without needing to feel ready. Someone who doesn't negotiate with comfort. And your future is being shaped by what you tolerate today, because if you tolerate distraction and laziness, your future will reflect that. But if you raise your standards even slightly, everything begins to shift. And behind comfort there is usually fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And avoiding that fear only strengthens it, while facing it weakens it. So courage is not about feeling fearless, but acting despite fear. And you also don't lack time. You lack priority, because if you look honestly at your day, you will see how much time is wasted on things that don't move your life forward. and if you redirected even a small portion of that time into something meaningful, your life would start changing faster than you expect. But that requires structure, not motivation, a simple routine you follow whether you feel like it or not. And the truth is, no one is coming to save you, not your friends, not your family, not luck. If your life is going to change, it will be because you decided to change it, and that responsibility is heavy, but it also gives you control. And if you keep choosing comfort, nothing will change. The same habits, the same mindset, the same results. So stop negotiating with yourself. Stop waiting for the perfect moment because it does not exist. There is only the moment you decide to act. And understand that comfort slowly destroys your confidence, because every time you avoid something, you build doubt in yourself, while every time you face something difficult, you build trust. And real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. And consistency is what matters, because success is not built in one big moment, but in daily repetition, even when it feels boring and slow. And most people quit because they want instant results. But instant satisfaction costs you your future. And if you started treating your future self like someone you truly care about, you would stop wasting time and start acting with intention. And discipline is not punishment, it is freedom, because it gives you control over your life instead of being controlled by your feelings. And yes, you will fail sometimes, you will slip. But that does not mean you quit, it means you reset and keep going, because one bad day does not destroy progress, but giving up does. And you may even outgrow certain habits and people around you, because growth will make others uncomfortable and not everyone will understand your change. But you must keep going because your life is your responsibility. And instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on a few key actions, build momentum, and expand from there. And stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking what needs to be done, because that shift alone will transform your mindset. And now you are at a decision point where you either go back to comfort or you step into growth. And if this message hit you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs it, stay connected, stay updated, and most importantly, take action, because information without action is just noise, and you are not here for noise, you are here to change. So the question remains, will you stay comfortable, or will you finally become who you know you are capable of being? Comfort feels good, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Right now, there are people waking up early, pushing through discomfort, learning new skills, and building something meaningful, while others are choosing ease and telling themselves, "I'll start tomorrow." The truth is, both people feel fine in the moment, but only one is moving forward. That's how comfort traps you. It doesn't scream or warn you. It quietly keeps you exactly where you are until days turn into weeks and weeks turn into years, and you look back wondering why nothing changed. That's how potential dies, not in one big failure, but in small, comfortable decisions repeated daily. If you're hearing this right now, this is your wake-up call. Something in you knows you're capable of more, and if you ignore that feeling, it will fade until you become just another person who had potential but never used it. So make a decision right now. Subscribe to this channel, stay connected, share this with someone who needs it, and keep exposing your mind to truth like this, because that's how change begins. You need to understand something clearly. Comfort is addictive. It convinces you that rest is progress, that scrolling is harmless, and that avoiding hard things is self-care. But deep down, you know when you're wasting time. Every time you ignore that voice, you weaken your discipline. And over time, that weakness becomes your lifestyle. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you are always comfortable, you are not growing. And if you are growing, you will feel uncomfortable. There is no way around that. That uncomfortable feeling you keep avoiding is actually the doorway to your next level. But most people never walk through it because they keep choosing what feels easy instead of what builds them. Another truth you need to accept is this: you are responsible for where you are right now. Not your background, not your situation, not your circumstances. Life can be unfair, yes, but staying stuck is a choice you reinforce every single day you choose comfort over action. That truth might be hard, but it's also powerful, because it means your choices can also get you out. Here's where it gets interesting. Discomfort is actually your advantage. Most people run from it. They avoid hard work, hard conversations, and hard decisions, which is why they stay average. But the moment you become someone who leans into discomfort, you separate yourself from the crowd. Waking up when you don't feel like it, working when you're tired, learning when it's frustrating, staying disciplined when it's boring, that's where your edge is built. You also need to look at your environment because it is shaping you more than you think. If you're surrounded by distraction, low standards, and comfort, you will naturally drift in that direction. If you are serious about your potential, you must become intentional about what you allow into your life, what you watch, what you listen to, and the people you keep around you. Stop relying on motivation. It's unreliable and temporary. You will not always feel like doing the work, and if you depend on feelings, you will stay inconsistent. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears. Doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, is what separates those who talk from those who actually achieve something. Time is not waiting for you. Every day you spend in comfort is a day you don't get back, and the dangerous part is you won't feel the loss immediately. It builds quietly until one day you realize nothing has changed. That's why your potential means nothing without action. You can have ideas, dreams, and talent, but if you stay comfortable, none of it will matter. You don't need a perfect plan to start. Waiting for clarity is just another form of comfort. Clarity comes from action, not waiting. Start messy, start small, just start. Because imperfect progress is always better than staying stuck in the same place. Comfort also makes you lie to yourself. It tells you that you need more time when you're just afraid, that you're not ready when you're avoiding failure, and that you'll do it later when later rarely comes. The longer you listen to those lies, the more you start believing them, until you build your entire life around excuses. Every day, you are either building momentum or losing it. There is no neutral. Every action you take strengthens your identity, and every action you avoid weakens it. So the goal is not just to do more, it's to become someone who follows through, someone who does hard things without needing to feel ready. Your future is being shaped by what you tolerate today. If you tolerate laziness, your future will reflect it. If you tolerate distraction, your future will feel scattered. But if you raise your standards, even slightly, everything begins to shift. You don't need a complete life overhaul, you just need fewer excuses and stronger decisions. Behind comfort, there is usually fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. Avoiding that fear doesn't remove it, it strengthens it. But when you face it, even imperfectly, you begin to weaken its control over you. Courage is not about feeling fearless, it's about acting despite fear. You don't lack time, you lack priority. If you look honestly at your day, you'll see how much time is wasted on things that don't move your life forward. If you redirected even a small portion of that time into something meaningful, your life would start changing faster than you expect. You need structure, not motivation. A simple routine you follow whether you feel like it or not. Wake up at a set time, do the work, limit distractions, repeat. It sounds simple because it is, but simple doesn't mean easy. And that's why most people don't stick with it. No one is coming to save you. If your life is going to change, it will be because you decided to change it. That responsibility is heavy, but it also gives you control. And if you keep choosing comfort, nothing will change. The same habits, the same mindset, the same results. Comfort slowly destroys your confidence. Every time you avoid something you know you should do, you build doubt in yourself. But every time you face something difficult, you build trust. Real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself, not from talking about what you'll do. Consistency is everything. Success is not built in one big moment, it's built in daily repetition, even when it feels boring and slow. Most people quit because they want instant results, but instant satisfaction costs you your future. You will fail sometimes. You will slip. But that doesn't mean you quit. It means you reset and keep going. One bad day doesn't ruin your progress, but giving up does. So stop aiming for perfection and focus on consistency. You might even outgrow certain habits and people. Not everyone will understand your growth, and some will try to pull you back into comfort. You have to be strong enough to keep going anyway, because your life is your responsibility. Focus on a few key actions instead of trying to change everything at once. build momentum, then expand. Slow growth is still growth, and it's more sustainable. Stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking what needs to be done. That one shift will change everything. Because your feelings will often push you toward comfort, but your goals require discipline. Right now, you are at a decision point. You can go back to comfort and stay the same, or you can step into discomfort and grow into who you are meant to be. No one can make that choice for you. If this message hit you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs it, stay connected, stay updated, and most importantly, take action. Because information without action is just noise, and you are not here for noise. You are here to change. So the question is simple: will you stay comfortable, or will you finally become who you know you're capable of being? Good, now don't lose the momentum. This is where most people stop, and stopping early is just another form of comfort dressed up as that was enough. You need to understand that knowing all this means nothing if your habits don't change. A lot of people consume content like this every day. They feel motivated for a few minutes, maybe even a few hours, and then they go right back to the same routine. That's the trap, feeling like you're improving without actually doing anything different. If your actions stay the same, your life stays the same. So let's get even more real. Comfort doesn't just waste your time, it rewires your mind. The more you choose easy, the harder hard things start to feel. Tasks that used to be simple begin to feel overwhelming, not because they are, but because you've trained yourself to avoid effort. That's how people become mentally weak without even realizing it. They didn't start that way, they trained themselves into it through constant comfort. But here's the flip side. You can train yourself in the opposite direction. Every time you choose discipline, even in small ways, you build mental strength. You make the next hard thing slightly easier. You start becoming someone who doesn't panic when things get tough. That's how resilience is built, not in big moments, but in small daily decisions. Let's talk about excuses, because this is where comfort hides best. You don't call it laziness. You call it waiting for the right time. You don't call it fear. You call it being realistic. You don't call it procrastination. You call it needing more information. Be honest with yourself. Most of the time, you already know what to do. You're just avoiding doing it. And the longer you avoid it, the heavier it feels. That task you've been putting off? It's not actually that hard. It just feels hard because you've delayed it for so long. So stop overthinking. Action reduces anxiety. Waiting increases it. Another thing you need to face: comfort kills urgency. When things feel okay, you don't feel the need to push. You tell yourself you have time. You relax. You delay. But okay is dangerous. Because okay can keep you stuck for years. You're not failing, so you don't feel pressure to change. But you're also not growing, so your potential stays locked away. If you want to break out, you need to create urgency. Act like your time matters. Act like your future depends on what you do today, because it does. Now let's talk about standards. Your life will rise or fall based on what you accept from yourself. If you accept inconsistency, you'll live inconsistently. If you accept excuses, you'll always have them. If you accept comfort, you'll stay comfortable and stuck. But the moment you decide, I don't do that anymore, everything starts to shift. Not overnight, but steadily. You start catching yourself slipping. You start correcting your actions. You start building a new identity. And identity is everything. When you see yourself as someone disciplined, you act differently. When you see yourself as someone focused, you make better choices. So stop labeling yourself based on your past and start acting based on who you want to become. Let's get practical again. You need to reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad ones. If your phone is your biggest distraction, don't keep it next to you when you're working. If you waste time at night, set a cutoff time and stick to it. If you struggle to start, make the first step so small you can't avoid it. You don't need more willpower, you need better systems. Because willpower runs out, but systems keep you consistent. Here's another truth that might hit hard. You're not tired, you're distracted. There's a difference. Being tired comes from doing too much. Being distracted comes from doing too little of what actually matters. When you spend your day jumping between meaningless things, your mind gets exhausted without being fulfilled. That's why you feel drained but still unaccomplished. Real work gives you a different kind of tired, one that feels earned. Pay attention to that. Let's also talk about patience. You won't become your best self in a week. Or a month. This takes time. And that's uncomfortable too. Because you want results now. You want proof that your effort is working. But growth is quiet in the beginning. You won't always see it. But if you stay consistent, one day it becomes impossible to ignore. So don't quit just because it's slow. Slow progress is still progress. Now here's something powerful. Discomfort is a signal. When something feels hard, it usually means it matters. The conversation you're avoiding. The work you keep delaying. The change you're scared to make. That's where your growth is. So instead of running from discomfort, start moving toward it. Make it a habit. Because the more you face it, the less control it has over you. Let's bring this back to you. Not people. Not everyone. You. Where are you choosing comfort right now? What are you avoiding? What do you know you should be doing, but you're not? That's your starting point. Don't complicate it. Don't overthink it. Just act on it. Because at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. You either keep choosing comfort and stay where you are, or you start choosing discomfort and become who you're meant to be. There's no middle ground. So if this is pushing you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel so you keep getting reminders like this. Share this with someone who needs it. Stay connected, stay updated, and most importantly, apply it. Because hearing the truth is one thing. Living it is what will change your life. Good, now we're getting somewhere. But don't just sit there feeling motivated. This is the exact point where most people lose it. They feel fired up, they nod their head, they say, "This is what I needed." And then they go right back to the same habits that are quietly destroying their future. You have to understand this clearly. Motivation without movement is just another form of comfort. It feels productive, but it changes nothing. If your actions don't shift after this, then this becomes just another moment you used to feel good instead of getting better. So don't let this message become entertainment. Let it become a turning point, because the truth is your life is not going to change based on what you know, it's going to change based on what you repeatedly do, and repetition is where most people fail because it's not exciting, it's not dramatic, and it doesn't give instant results, but it's the only thing that works. You need to realize that comfort doesn't just keep you where you are, it slowly lowers your expectations for your own life. At first, you had big goals, strong ambition, and a clear vision of who you wanted to become, but the more you chose comfort, the more those goals started to fade, not because they weren't possible, but because you stopped showing up for them. And over time, you adjusted. You started accepting less. Less effort, less discipline, less progress. And the dangerous part is, it feels normal. You convince yourself that this is just how life is, when in reality, you've just adapted to a lower standard. That's how people settle without even realizing it. They don't make a conscious decision to give up on their potential, they just slowly stop chasing it, one comfortable choice at a time. Let's get brutally honest about something. You already know what you need to do. You don't need another video, another speech, or another explanation. The problem is not a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of execution. You know the habits you need to build. You know the distractions you need to cut off. You know the effort you've been avoiding. But instead of acting, you keep searching for more information, hoping something will magically make it easier. It won't. There is no secret that removes discomfort. There is no shortcut that replaces discipline. The only way forward is through the work you keep avoiding. And the longer you delay it, the heavier it becomes, not because the task is harder, but because your mind has made it bigger than it really is. Another thing you need to confront is how much time you're actually wasting. Not in a dramatic way, but in small, consistent leaks. Minutes here, hours there, scrolling, watching, waiting, delaying. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but it adds up faster than you think. And the worst part is, you're trading something valuable for something temporary. You're trading your future for short-term comfort. Imagine if you took just a portion of that wasted time and redirected it into something meaningful every single day. A skill. A goal. A plan. You wouldn't recognize your life after a few months. But that requires sacrifice, and sacrifice is uncomfortable, which is why most people never make that shift. You also need to understand that your mind will always try to pull you back into comfort, especially when you start making progress. The moment things get difficult, the moment you feel resistance, your brain will start offering you excuses that sound reasonable. Take a break. You've done enough. You can do it later. And if you're not aware, you'll listen. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Because motivation fades the moment things get hard, but discipline carries you through the moments where you would normally quit. And those moments, when you don't feel like it but you do it anyway, those are the moments that actually change you. There's also something else most people don't talk about. You're going to feel alone sometimes when you start taking this seriously. When you stop wasting time, when you start focusing, when you begin to outgrow old habits, not everyone around you will understand. Some people will question you. Some will laugh. Some will try to pull you back into the same comfort they're stuck in, because your growth makes them uncomfortable. And you need to be strong enough to keep going anyway. Because if you let other people's opinions control your actions, you will never reach your potential. Growth requires separation. Not from everyone, but from anything that keeps you small. Now let's talk about identity, because this is where real change happens. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits, and your habits are shaped by how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who procrastinates, you will keep procrastinating. If you see yourself as someone inconsistent, you will act inconsistently. So the shift you need to make is not just in what you do, but in who you believe you are. Start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Someone who handles discomfort. Someone who does what needs to be done without excuses. And then prove it daily through your actions. Because identity is not built by thinking, it's built by evidence. And let's be real, you're not always going to feel strong. There will be days when you feel tired, distracted, unmotivated, and tempted to go back to old habits. That's normal. But those are the days that matter the most. Because anyone can work when they feel good. Anyone can be focused when it's easy. But the real difference is made on the days when you don't feel like it and you still show up. That's where discipline is tested. That's where character is built. That's where you separate yourself from who you used to be. At the end of everything, it comes down to one simple truth: your life is a reflection of your daily choices. Not your intentions, not your plans, not your words, your choices. And right now you have a choice. You can go back to what's comfortable, what's easy, what's familiar, and stay exactly where you are. Or you can take what you've heard, accept the discomfort that comes with growth, and start becoming who you know you're capable of being. No one is going to force you. No one is going to save you. It's on you. So don't let this just be another message you listened to and forgot. Subscribe to the channel, stay connected, share this with someone who needs it, and keep feeding your mind with the kind of truth that pushes you forward. But more importantly, act. Because in the end, it's not what you hear that changes your life, it's what you do after you hear it. Now bring everything back to this moment, because this is where it either becomes real or it fades like every other message you've heard. You've heard the truth. Not the soft version, not the comfortable version, the real version. Comfort is not harmless. It's not neutral. It is slowly taking from you every single day you choose it over growth. It's taking your time, your discipline, your confidence, and most importantly, your potential. And the worst part is, it does it quietly. No alarms. No warnings. Just a slow drift into a life you never intended to live. But here's what matters. You're still here. That means you haven't fully given in. That means there's still something in you that wants more, that expects more, that knows you're capable of more. And that part of you? That's what you need to protect. That's what you need to feed. Because if you ignore it long enough, it will go silent, and once that happens, it becomes much harder to come back. So this is your moment to decide. Not think about it. Not plan around it. Decide. Decide that you're done choosing what's easy over what's necessary. Decide that you're done lying to yourself about later. Decide that you're done wasting time you can't get back. Because the truth is simple, your future is not something you hope for, it's something you build. And you build it through your daily actions, your discipline, your willingness to step into discomfort even when every part of you wants to stay where it's safe. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to be perfect. But you do need to start. You need to take one real step. One uncomfortable action that proves to yourself that you're serious. And then you repeat it. Again and again until it becomes who you are. That's how you break out. That's how you grow. That's how you become the person you keep thinking about but haven't yet become. So don't let this end here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't fall back into old patterns. Stay connected so you keep hearing what you need, not just what you want. Share this with someone who's stuck, someone who needs this push but won't admit it. And most importantly, come back, not just to watch, but to remind yourself of the standard you're choosing to live by. Because comfort will always be there. It will always be easier. It will always be tempting. But your potential? That requires something more. So the question is no longer, do you understand this? The question is, what are you going to do about it?